Hi, welcome back to the basement. It's Dan here. This is the Hughes and Kettner BK-200 combo. It features a single 15-inch eminence speaker and a tweeter in the top right-hand corner there. It is in a ported cabinet for extra lows. Up on the front panel, here we have two inputs, one for passive instruments and one for active instruments with active electronics. And as we move across the front panel here, we have standard gain control here. This punch button here is a pre-shape control. Now, Hughes and Kettner quickly point out that this isn't just a normal scoop in the middle frequency out type control. This has been very carefully tailored, so when you switch it in, you don't lose any volume, but you have an extra bit of beef in the tone. Let's have a quick listen to that in and out. So at the moment it's punched in and I did the intro with it enabled. Let's have a quick listen, a little bit of finger style. And if I just disable it, press the button like so. Let's have a listen again, finger style. Very nice. You could hear when it's enabled, there's a little bit of a scoop in there, but as Hughes and Kettner say, no real loss of volume there. It still sounds nice and punchy. That's great. I'm going to re-enable it because I like it. Along the front panel, nice big control here for the onboard compressor. This is constantly enabled, but if you switch it down to 0, then that's as good as bypass. It's not affecting your sound in any way. For the intro, I set it at about 12 o'clock for a light bit of compression, just pulling out some of those peaks from my slap bass parts. But if you max it all the way around, it's really great for some almost solo bass kind of sounds. So this is what it sounds like off. I'm going to max it out. Round we go. That's it. All the way around to 10. Same again. That's a really tasteful compressor there. I like how it doesn't go all really squishy and squeezed, taking away all of the bass punch, but it does add a lot more mids and top end, an extra clarity, and that extra sustain that we like from a compressor as well. Let's bring that back around to 12 o'clock as we go through the other controls. Now, the rest of the front panel is fairly simplistic. We've got a really nice 4-band EQ. It's a little bit different in that Hughes and Kettner have arranged the separate bands in parallel, so the signal hits all of the 4 bands at the same time, rather than going through, starting with the bass, controlling that, adding, taking away some mids, going through high mids and then top end. They say it's a bit more musical. Certainly on this particular combo, it sounds great. And as you can see on my dials, for my intro, I had a quick dial in of a nice sound. Didn't really need to go far away from 12 o'clock because it's just such a nice sounding combo as it is. But let's have a listen to some of the ranges available from those controls. Okay, so bass control, self-explanatory, all the lows. So if I just pull it down, finger style. Nice. Round we go. Let's add lots of bass on. Nice fat sound. Not at all murky. I like that. It's good. The low mids. Let's have a listen to this one. I set it up for the intro at just past 12 o'clock. Let's scoop those out and have a listen to what that sounds like. I'm pulling that back. Should hear a nice scoop sound now. Really nice effect. The top end sounds a lot clearer. It's got a nice kind of zing to it by taking away those middle frequencies, and the bass gets to thump through a bit as well. Really nice for slap bass. That would cut through the mix really, really nicely. Okay, so up we go, round to the low mids, add some more in. Same again. Good. Really cuts through the mix. I can imagine adding some more mids in this. If I was working with a drummer and maybe a guitarist with lots of distortion, that would start cutting through the sound, especially on stage, really, really nicely. Fantastic for just monitoring. There we go. High mids. Let's have a listen to this one. Skip it out. A great way of controlling some of that slap bass zing, but still sounding clear, taking out the high mids rather than rolling the treble off. Let's boost up those high mids. Here we go. Like that. Go. Have a listen. Quite the opposite of what I was suggesting earlier on. By boosting those high mids, I think slap bass is now starting to tear my ear off a little bit, so need to back that down a bit. Great for adding that bass spank sound, if you want to call it that. Let's pull it back a little bit. And then finally our treble control. Let's just roll this one right back. I'm expecting a nice smooth top end now. Great for some Motown kind of bass line. Lovely, perfect for a P bass. Let's roll that up. I can just hear a little bit of hiss coming off that tweeter now as I've really pushed the treble up. That's completely normal, nothing to worry about. Let's have a listen. Lots of lovely, crisp top end. I like this. That's a lovely voicing for that treble control. The tweeter has got a really sweet sound to it. Hopefully you can hear that coming across in the studio mix. Moving over on the front panel, we have the master volume control. I just want to point this out as well. I like this. Great big knobs on it, that's fantastic. Kind of, with the color scheme, reminds me of vintage cars with those big, kind of like Bakelite knobs on and things like that. Right over to the far right hand side, HF horn button. This is really, really simple. All it does is switches on and off the tweeter. So if I want to have a nice rolled off smooth sound, or if I'm using distortion, for example, sometimes that can sound a bit brittle with a tweeter. So this is a really nice addition in a combo to be able to turn it off. Let's have a quick listen. So I'm going to just reach across. There we go, lights off. Our horn in the right hand side here is now disengaged. I'm going to leave the treble control where it was before, yep, and play the same thing again. Hopefully you shall notice a bit of a rolling off of the top end through the mic in front of the cabinet. Here we go. So. Yep, so as I was digging my fingernails into the strings, none of that kind of extra zing, but it still sounded really, really smooth actually. That's a really nice 15-inch speaker in this particular combo. That rounds it off for the front of the cabinet. Round the back there is a DI output, an effects loop and a headphone socket. There is also an external speaker socket. I'm going to just bring your attention to this for a moment. Another really cool idea by Hughes and Kettner. It's going to take a little bit of explaining. Usually on amps and combos you'll have a couple of speaker outputs, and when you plug into those, your load between say one or two speakers is split between the two. So for example, you could have a minimum of a 4 ohm load, but 2 4 ohm speakers plugged in would actually pull your load down to 2 ohms. Would possibly cause the amp to overheat a little bit, or in some sensitive cases actually shut it down. So Hughes and Kettner have wired their speaker output in series. So if you plugged in a 4 ohm speaker and then another 4 ohm speaker, they'd actually add. They'd sum together to get an 8 ohm load. So therefore going further away from the minimum load that the amp will handle. That's superb. So you can take the combo and say another 15-inch speaker cabinet, have a really nice bass stack, and not have to worry about possibly going into meltdown or anything like that. So that is the BassKick series BK-200, and it's really, really nice covering here. This is a painted finish. I like this more so than carpet finish, as I was suggesting to my team earlier on. My cats like ripping my carpet finished cabinets, so to see this is a really, really nice way of saving some damage. Another good thing. Well done, Hughes and Kettner. Fantastic combo. They're aiming it at a budget kind of level, student or gigging musician, and making sure it's also nice and feature rich, and it's going to be pretty bulletproof with these big corners and big steel grille on the front. So there we go. Thanks ever so much for checking out this review. As always, I'll put some more details in the written review, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.